You know, some stories just stick with you. They get under your skin because they don't have an ending. Well, this is one of those stories. It's about a bright, ambitious news anchor whose routine morning turned into one of America's most baffling and enduring mysteries. Let's talk about the disappearance of Jodi Huisentruit. So picture this. It's June 27th, 1995, in a small city in Iowa. The morning news is about to go on the air, but the anchor, she never shows up. And what happened to her in the pre-dawn darkness of her apartment parking lot has been a haunting question for decades. To really understand the weight of this loss, you first have to get to know who Jodi was, because she wasn't just a face on TV, right? She was a daughter, a friend, and a total go-getter with a future that was incredibly bright. At just 27 years old, Jodi was absolutely living her dream. She was a Minnesota native, a seriously talented golfer in high school, and she had worked her way up from being a flight attendant to landing that coveted morning anchor spot at Kim IMT TV. She was just full of energy, super driven, and on a clear path to big things. But that path, well, it came to a sudden and it seems violent end on a Tuesday morning. The timeline of what we know for sure is terrifyingly short, and every single detail is just chilling. Okay, so here's the play-by-play. A little after 4 a.m., her producer calls her, wondering where she is. Jodi picks up, says she overslept, and promises she's on her way out the door. And that was the last time anyone ever heard her voice. By 6 a.m., they had to scramble to put a coworker on the air in her place. And an hour after that, they made the call to the police. When police got to her apartment complex, the scene just screamed abduction. Her personal things, her shoes, a hairdryer, hairspray, they were all scattered on the pavement near her little red Miata. But the most telling detail? Her card key was bent. Think about that. It suggests she was in a violent struggle, trying desperately to unlock her door. And then there was one other clue, a single, unidentified palm print found nearby. Investigators were working with precious little else. A couple of neighbors later said they'd heard screams right around the time Jodi would have been leaving, and one person remembered seeing a white van, a detail that has hung over this case for years, but has never, ever led to a solid breakthrough. In the days and months and, well, years that followed, the investigation was massive. I mean, huge. But it was like every time they got a lead, it just dissolved into nothing. Just look at that number. Over 1,000 interviews. This was not a case that got brushed aside. No way. This was an all-out effort, with both law enforcement and private investigators hired by her heartbroken family trying to find any answer they could. The search went everywhere. They put her story on national TV shows like America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries, bringing in tips from all over the country. They even consulted psychics. And get this, that meeting actually became the pilot episode for the show Psychic Detectives. How wild is that? Volunteers scoured the county, but still, nothing. No Jodi and no suspect. Then, 6 years after she vanished, the case hit this really somber legal milestone. In May of 2001, Jodi Huisentruit was declared legally dead. It's a formal recognition of what her family had feared for so long, but it certainly didn't stop the search for the truth. As the years turned into decades, you'd think the case would just go quiet. But it didn't just stay cold, it got strange, really strange. Bizarre twists started to emerge, along with some really serious allegations of a cover-up. Okay, this is one of the most baffling turns in the entire investigation. In 2008, 13 years after Jodi disappeared, copies of her private journal, which was supposed to be locked away in a police evidence room, were anonymously mailed to a local paper. It turns out the sender was the wife of the former police chief, and to this day, no one has ever explained why he took a copy of evidence from an active investigation or why she decided to mail it out. I mean, what is going on there? That bizarre incident with the journal just poured gasoline on the fire of speculation. And then, in 2016, a retiring state representative who had been on the Public Safety Committee, he came right out and said it. He voiced his concerns publicly, suggesting a cover-up by local officials, which just added this whole other troubling layer to the mystery. Now, over the years, several names have come up as persons of interest. It is so important to say, though, that no one has ever been charged in connection with Jodi's disappearance. These people range from a serial rapist who was living just 2 blocks from her work to John Van Cise, who was the last person known to have seen her alive. Each name represents a path investigators went down, but so far, everyone has been a dead end. And the effort is still going strong. A private investigator has put up a pretty significant reward, $100,000 for information that finally leads to finding Jodi. It's just a testament to the fact that for so many people, this case is anything but over. So, where does that all leave us today? After all this time, all the theories, and all the dead ends, the disappearance of Jodi Huisentruit is still one of Iowa's most profound and haunting mysteries. And what's really crucial to remember is this. Even though it's been cold for so long, this case is not closed. Not by a long shot. Law enforcement officials confirm it is still an active investigation. They're still hoping for that one tip, that one piece of new evidence that could finally break it all wide open. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? With so much time passed and so many secrets potentially buried deep, can we ever truly know what happened in that parking lot in the early morning hours of 1995? Or will the truth of Jodi's fate stay forever just out of reach?